Okay, well, I'd like to formally introduce myself. My official title is Professor Abby Milan. I am a senior lecturer in the Department of Legal Studies, and as of last May, became the internship coordinator for the department. So I was very pleased to be joining you all today to discuss internships, and I see a few of my current students are on this meeting. So the first off that I want to get started with is why do internships matter? And several things come forward, and if you have, there are a number of um, Indeed and LinkedIn and such have internship success videos that you can watch. But the main thing is that it is application of your classroom theory to real life profession. Just actually, how does the legal process work on a day-to-day basis? You get exposure to actual client situations. And that's important because within a classroom setting, it is more of a sterile, contained environment. So, for example, in a legal research class or in a civil procedure class, we, as the professors, we make sure that for the legal research that there are actual cases. And so we put together a fact pattern that we know that the students, or in family law, that we know that the students should be able to find 3 cases for the one party and 3 cases for the other party's position. And so it's contained. But that script does not translate into the real world. There's always something in a client situation that does not fit neatly within the parameters of the law. So, that type of exposure and seeing the level of creativity on the part of the attorney is invaluable. It also expands your knowledge of the student as to your skill set. You passed legal research and writing, but can you actually write a memorandum that is applicable to a client's case? Can you actually find appropriate case law? Do you know how to use Westlaw? Do you know how to use the various finding tools that are in the law firm setting? And that's important. I had an intern that I gave him a project to do, and it was a situation that was somewhat unique, and there wasn't a lot of law that I knew about with regard to this particular client's position. And when I came back, he had a stack of cases that he had found. And he was so excited that he had found all these cases for me. And when I went to read through them, he had gone down the wrong research path. He had followed a different keynote than what he should have followed. And so, yes, they were all these wonderful cases, but not for my client's situation. So, it is important to know not only what you're good at and your skill set, but also deficiencies. What do you need to improve? What do you need to work on? And, maybe you need to know more about the rules of civil procedure. Maybe you need to know more about e-discovery and e-filing, electronic filing and electronic discovery tools. So it not only allows you the opportunity to improve your skill set, but it also allows you an opportunity to see what do you need to work on, what do you need to improve. Another aspect of why an internship matters is solidification of your area of interest. Do you really love the law? Do you want to go into criminal law? Do you want to go into civil law? And that is very important as to the type of law that you are interested in, because after the first year of law school, you are allowed to tailor your area of interest to in taking courses. So you have that flexibility. So it's good to know early on if you what area of the law you want to pursue when you go to law school or when you are out into the field and working. And then it also allows you structured mentorship with a professional that it allows you to gain firsthand experience and firsthand knowledge from them, listening to their stories. How did they handle an angry client? How did they balance work life? That's important. And then it does allow an opportunity for job offers. We have had a number of our students who have been offered full-time positions after the internship has ended, or continued part-time opportunities with the same firm. So it does allow that for job offers post-graduation or in the following semesters prior to graduation. I want to turn to our program under the topic of finding the right internship. We have required courses that you must take and pass with a passing grade of C or better in order to qualify for an internship. We have a very strong reputation in our legal community for the placement of our interns, and it is important that we can vouch for the basic level of competency that our students have. So we require that you pass legal research, that you know how to engage in legal research, that you can prepare a memorandum, that you can write and legal writing, and also professionalism, that you understand the ethics that are associated with our profession and how to conduct yourself within a law environment, and whether it is in a private practice or with the state attorney, public defender, or in the court system. So the types of placements that we have for our students is with the court system, involving the state attorney's office and the public defender's office, also our legal aid societies. And then you can also intern at a nonprofit. We have several interns that are working with law-related nonprofit organizations. And then we also have interns who are working with our corporate partners. We have an intern now working at Disney in their licensing and corporate law office. So there are a number of placements depending on what the student is looking for. And some students already know that they want to go into the criminal law field, and then others want to stay on the civil side of practice. I also have some students who really love to write, and so they are looking to work with an appellate law firm. So we have different opportunities depending on what the identified students' interests are. We do require that you procure a host that is willing to work with you. There are catalog requirements. There are requirements by UCF, and I've had to clarify for several students how an internship works. It is a formal course, PLA 4941, and since it is a formal course, you have to begin an internship at the start of a semester. And yes, you do have to pay for the credits. I've had some students inquire that, hey, I'm working, Can I just have credits magically appear on my transcript through credits? No, you have to register for the course, and that's either at the registration dates. I've also had students who have approached me well into the semester to ask if they could get internship credit. No, we don't have that ability for you to begin an internship as of tomorrow, October 1. You needed to have applied and registered back in August, that first week of August. So internship is a formal course, just like any of the other courses that you are taking. There is a cutoff date for you to be part of the course and to receive, actually earn the academic credit on your transcript. So I think that has been one of the misconceptions by students that I have encountered, that they didn't understand that it is a formal course and that it has start and end dates. There is also in the catalog a minimum requirement of 180 hours of internship over the course of the semester. That usually translates to 13 to 16 hours a week. It can vary depending on what you're doing, pardon me, with your mentor, or if you're planning to be away for a wedding, or you have some other event, then you need to adjust those hours with your mentor, with your host. The succeeding in your internship, it is very important prior to reaching out to locations, to law firms, that you research the profiles, that you have an understanding of what type of work the law firm does, and their profiles of the attorneys that work there. You can do that on internet profiles. You can do it through, I know a lot of you are on LinkedIn already. The Florida Bar does have profiles. Most law firms on their website have profiles of the attorneys and the different areas of law that the law firm is engaged in. So you need to do research before you start so that you understand who is working at the law firm and what type of work they do. The next thing for success in your internship is to be personable, is to try to meet everyone, and to and that gives you an opportunity to practice your communication skills. If you are going into the practice of law, then communication and the ability to talk to people is important. I do have some colleagues that do appellate work. I do have some colleagues that don't want to be in the back room. They do not want to interact with people. And so consequently, knowing that they're not comfortable interacting with people, they want to be in the back room doing research. They just want to write memorandum all day and do legal research. They don't want to be, the front person. They don't want to be on the commercials on TV. And so, you have to kind of have that understanding about yourself. How comfortable are you in communicating with other people and engaging with other people? And that is important. So, that is something that only you can evaluate as to your level of comfort. And this gives you an opportunity in this environment to practice those communication skills and how to interact with people. The beauty of the English language is that there are over 870,000 words, and there are more each day being coined. So you also have to be selective in how you speak with people, and also gauge their level of understanding as to concepts. So that's an important aspect of communicating, in knowing how to um, provide others with information in a way that they are able to understand what is going on, especially with regard to their situation. And also to note, another aspect about internship is to also note that um, someone, just because they feel that they have been injured, just because they feel that somehow they have been damaged, does not always translate into an actionable lawsuit. So you may have somebody that feels that they have been wronged, but whatever transgression they are feeling does not mean that they have an actual lawsuit. And so you have to be able to, at that initial client meeting, you have to be able to talk to someone in a manner in which you can say, I understand that you believe you have been wronged. I understand that you think that this is unfair, but as to the current law, I'm sorry, you do not have a lawsuit. So that's a tough conversation, but a necessary one that have an opportunity to observe and to practice. How do you handle those clients within that law setting? Another thing is to set goals. And part of our internship program, the students maintain logbooks, and that we ask them to set a goal, not only for the overall experience, but for their biweekly experience, and to write down something that went well, something that didn't go so well, and something that they need to improve on, so that they can track over time, are they meeting their goals, and are they improving their skill set? Many often it is time management. Many of the students are not well equipped as to time management, and that is very important in a law firm setting, especially if you were involved with litigation, because there are deadlines, there are concrete deadlines that one must meet. So, you need to be able to manage your time well. Another aspect of succeeding in your internship, and this can be a tough one, is to accept all assignments. So you need to willingly and without an attitude take on the tasks that have been assigned to you. And I have a war story to share. I had an intern, a summer intern. My practice was in Gainesville, Florida, and that's where the University of Florida Law School is located. So I had a summer intern, and he probably was working there about 3 weeks. And it so happened that I was in court, and one of my paralegals was out, and the other paralegal and the receptionist, one had a doctor's meeting. At the end of the day, everybody was going to be out of the office for about an hour and simultaneously. So he was asked to make sure that he answered the phones while we were out. My hearing ended sooner than anticipated, and I happened to go back to the office, and I walked into the office, and the phone was ringing. And there he was sitting at his desk and not answering the phone. And so I answered the phone, and then after I took the client information, I asked to speak with him, and I asked him, I said, when I walked in, I noticed that you did not pick up the phone?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to be an attorney, not a receptionist, and I don't answer phones." How long do you think he lasted at my law firm? uh, why would it be? So I asked him, I said, "Well, I can appreciate your point of view, but why do you think it's important to answer the phone?" One, because in order to sustain yourself, you need clientele. And two, you also, this is an opportunity for you as an intern. Actually, you should have been pleased that I trusted you enough that I would allow you to answer my phone and talk to my client. Because if if my client had a poor experience, then I may not have that client. I may not retain that client. So, rather than seeing it as being demeaning and beneath him, he should have acknowledged that no, she actually does trust me enough to talk to her clients. So that's an example. You may think that the assignment is below your skill set level, but actually you need to show your willingness to get the conference room ready, make copies, make the client folders, put together the deposition records, etc. So that's my tip, is to be a willing intern and not have an attitude. Practice professionalism. That is an easy word, professionalism, but what does it really mean? First off, appropriate dress and conversation for the setting. I would advise you that now, if you know that you want to go into the legal profession, is keep an eye out for professional dress. So, skirts, jackets, suit, type of things that you can pick up and find on sale. That there is decorum. When I first started practicing, and I've been in practice for 38 years now, but when I started practicing, there were not many women in the profession, especially in litigation. And so you also need to check with your judges as to what dress they deem appropriate for their courtroom. And that is very important, because the judge is still the captain of the courtroom. If the judge tells the bailiff to lock the door at 9 a.m., then the door is locked at 9 a.m. and nobody else is allowed in the courtroom. So you need to ask and make sure that your manner of dress is appropriate for that judge's chambers, for that judge's courtroom. And back when I first started, we had one judge that would not allow women to wear pantsuits. We had to wear a skirt or a dress with a jacket. And if you showed up in a pantsuit, then he would table your hearing until you came back appropriately dressed for his courtroom. Now, that may seem archaic. There may not be those type of judges out there now, but you need to find out. You need to ask. Judge Perry, Chief Judge Perry, before he retired, his pet peeve was chewing gum, and he did not allow anybody to chew gum in his courtroom. So, it may not be manner of dress, it may be other things that the judge has a pet peeve about. But not only appropriate dress and you need to find out what does Dress Down Friday mean. And it can be different for men versus women. Not as much now as it was back in the 90s, it also in the 2000s, but also as to your position in the law firm. So I, as an associate attorney, when I was first starting out as an associate attorney, I felt the need to dress more formally than the senior partner who had been practicing for 30 years. So because of his length of time and his reputation in the community, he could come in his golf pants and his golf shirt and, still maintain that level of respect from his clients if they happen to stop by the office. Whereas being the young associate attorney, I felt the need to be more formally dressed in order to command that kind of respect from the client that no, I actually know what I'm doing, even though I may only be out of law school for 2 or 3 years. And so you have to project that image. That is very important in working with clients. And also conversation. What is the appropriate tone of the conversation, but also choice of words. And, you would speak differently with a client than with a family member. So you need to be aware of that. I do, and also I have colleagues, I have encountered attorneys that preface their introduction with, well, I'm an F-bomber. I drop the F-bomb, I do this, I do that, you better get used to it. Well, for some attorneys, that may work. For others, that may be off-putting, that may not enhance their image within the legal community. So you need to be mindful of who you're speaking with and word choice and the type of conversation, which leads me to my next talking point is staying updated as to news and events that affect your particular industry. So you need to become aware, you need to seek out news, and especially for our industry, our particular industry. An example is we currently are going to start a new term for our United States Supreme Court. You should have a working knowledge about the types of cases that our Supreme Court is going to hear this upcoming term. Or you should at least be aware of recent landmark cases that attorneys are talking about that you should have an understanding. So we had now 2 years ago, we had the Dobbs decision, the U.S. Supreme Court decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. You should know that if you want to go into this profession or any profession or any industry. If you're looking to go into the space industry, you need to know which companies are involved in the private launchings. And so it's important to be updated as to news and events. It's also good to know something, and more people do now because of fantasy leagues, but an easy talking introduction area to talk about is sports, so you need to know a little something about sports because that is usually a good icebreaker when you are starting a conversation with somebody. And to know, well, if they don't really focus on football, but they really like baseball, you need to know something about baseball. You need to know something about tennis, golf, just something quick. So I won't take a show of hands in the chat, but we had a major golfing event this past weekend, and it was 1, 2, 3, the Ryder Cup, and that Europe won. So that's a quick blip. If somebody is interested in golf, then you can say, oh, the Ryder Cup was this past weekend, and they'll go off if they're really interested in it. Then that's all you have to say. That's all you have to know, because then they'll say, yeah, it was, I thought the US would come back, but they had a, real tough start. And then they feel connected with you, but they also feel that, you are an involved person, and that you know about things. So you don't need to know about, you need to know about a lot of things, but not be an expert in everything. So I would encourage you to expand if you don't, have different feeds and news source, however you get news, to expand that so that you know a little bit about everything in order to have some commonality with who you're interacting with. So that's the main thing. And also to seek constructive criticism and feedback from your mentors. Ask for it. Also, as to your time limitations, do not sit, and this is a prank that paralegals will do sometimes with interns, is that they will put them in the law library and they will give them a task, and then they'll see how long it takes the intern to ask for help. And so they'll take bets on it. How long are they going to sit in the law library and not know how to do this document, or how to construct whatever project they've given them? And then they take bets on how long until the intern actually asks for help. And I've seen that played out in action. I've not participated in the betting pool, but and they want that, because yes, have they done this type of complaint before? Have they done this type of affidavit? Have they, most of the law firms have working libraries of forms, of memorandum. So they don't always reinvent the wheel every time. They have these working libraries. And so it is important to ask for help, acknowledge that you don't know, they've given you this project, you don't know where to start, and ask them for help and acknowledge that you don't know. And that is very important as to your success in your internship. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is why do an internship, as to can it help you in your law school applications. Prior to the end of your internship, if it has been going well, ask for a letter of recommendation from your mentor. Do not assume that your mentor in a year and a half is going to remember everything that you did or that you accomplished while you were there at their law firm. They have expanded clientele. They have, number of projects. They have a number of cases, etc. So yes, you may remember everything that you did, or that you put together this 1,000-page litigation portfolio for X case, but they are not going to always have that type of memory as to exactly what you accomplished or what you were outstanding in doing on behalf of the firm or for the firm. So ask for a letter of recommendation. It can then be updated. So let's say that you're going to take a gap year and then go to law school. If you have that general letter of recommendation, then you can reach back to them and say, here is the letter of recommendation that you wrote for me while I interned at your law firm. I am now looking to apply to law school. And would you mind updating the letter for me on my behalf? And that is easier for your mentor to tweak and to update that letter rather than to say, think back, okay, well, that was a year and a half ago. Exactly what did they work on? That's tougher, and it's going to take longer for them to provide that letter to you in support of your law school application. So that's a big one to try to get. The other thing is that it shows by talking about your internship and having the internship on your transcript, that is a good indicator to the law school selection committees that you have a basic skill set and that you have a familiarity with legal research and legal writing at a minimum in order to be successful in a law school graduate setting. Now, why is that important? It goes to that the law schools have journals and have other activities. They have moot court, they have mock trial. They now have mediation teams at the law school level. And that is a good indicator to the selection committee that you are going to be a participant, that you are going to be able to contribute to one of those teams, possibly, if you are interested and selected for those teams, that you may write on to one of the journals. And so that gives an indication that you're going to be a contributor in law school to these various outlets that the law school are available on the law school platform. And then it also demonstrates a commitment to the profession and the practice of law. That if you were interested enough at the undergraduate level to engage in a legal internship, that then tells the application committee that no, you've had exposure to this profession and that you like it so much that you're applying for law school and that you have you've given it serious thought. Now, from a practical point for the law school admissions officers, why is that important? It's important because they only have so many seats to sell. And many of the law schools used to have two admissions. They used to have an August and a January admission for their law schools. Now they only have an August admission. They typically only have 200 or 250 seats to sell. And if they have somebody and admit somebody who after the first semester or second semester, they say, you know what, law school isn't for me, and they drop out of law school, then the law school loses money for year 2 and 3. So now they have an empty seat for year 2 and 3, which does not translate well to the economic side of a law school. So they want assurance from who is admitted into their law school program that there is a commitment for 3 years, that no, this person actually wants to be here. They have been exposed to what the legal field is about, and that they're going to occupy that seat and pay tuition for 3 years. That's the business side from a law school admissions perspective. So I'm able to take questions or comments.
Thank you, Professor. So we have a question in the chat. What if our internship doesn't include things such as filing or Westlaw or Lexis? And how can students practice and learn that on their own?
Okay. Most law firms do have access to research base that is applicable to what their mission is. But if you are interning somewhere with a nonprofit organization, um, there's other platforms that you can use. Westlaw and LexisNexis. The only reason those are the buzzwords is because they have been at the forefront from the early days of cataloging and compiling case law. But there are open sources, and more each day. You have FindLaw, you now have all the law schools that have repositories, Cornell Law. You also have Google that has Google Scholar. So what the bottom line in response to that is knowing what is a trusted source for you and collecting in obtaining in doing your research. And that is important because we've had a couple of law firms where attorneys have gotten their hands slapped and also have been suspended or disbarred because they used AI. They used Chat GPT-4, and they used or Copilot or another AI platform, fed in the client facts. And unfortunately for them, they did not use other platforms to authenticate what the AI platform generated for them, and that the cases were fictional. They were non-existent. they weren't actual cases in as stare decisis. So going forward, especially with AI tools, the law schools are now requiring certification in AI platforms, and that is to educate the students as to how to use these research engines and platforms.
Thank you. And then, are there any red flags that students should look out for when applying for internships?
I'm sorry, what?
Are there any red flags that students should look out for when applying for internships?
You mean across the board? One, I would evaluate. I would really ask as to their how do I put this? As to their ability to mentor. Do they actually have the, most people will say, yeah, yes. But do they really have the time to mentor? Do they have the space for you to come into the office? Do they have, so working with an intern, do they have the type of project that an intern could actually work on? So there may be an issue as to confidentiality, and most of the interns that we have placed, we try to vet the host. And as part of our internship program, we do have a student oath that the student has to comply with, and we do have a host acknowledgement form that they have to comply with for to do the formal internship. So, but the main thing is evaluating, does the host actually have the time and space for you to have a meaningful internship.
Thank you. And then we had another question as well. How do you connect with mentors and create a lasting impression that makes you memorable with them?
Okay. One, it depends on the relationship. To what extent does the mentor want to have an established relationship with you? And, you can want to have an established relationship with the mentor. Some mentors are more willing than others to interact with you outside of the office, outside of the work environment. then, but, you know, a lot of it is dependent on the mentor. You know, how much, what is their commitment to you as the intern? And you can't force it. I have seen relationships develop, long-term relationships where the mentor has kept up. One way you can do it is to just do an FYI, post internship is just send an update, a quick update. You know, I've been accepted to 3 law schools. I'm trying to decide which one. So, you know, there's not a concrete, definite answer for that.
Thank you. And then how competitive would you say the internships are, and what can students do to stand out?
We try to place all of our interns. What I see as the stumbling block is, and I think this is important for students to truly evaluate, is from your position, can you commit to the internship? Can you commit to showing up on the days that are designated that you have agreed to show up? I think what I am observing is students do not evaluate what level of commitment they can make in light of their surrounding circumstances. And yes, you may want to do it. You may say, wow, you know, I really love this opportunity. But if you're already working 40 hours a week to support yourself and take 3 and 4 classes, then you need to make that hard, you know, decision and really evaluate, can you actually week to week show up and have a meaningful experience.
And then are there any ways students can gain experience prior to beginning an internship?
Yes, I would recommend job shadowing. It is palatable. It is, you are more likely to get a yes from somebody if you can just do a day in the life of, a day in the career of. And so if you called an attorney's office and say, I'd like to job shadow, I understand that they are personal injury and litigation and or criminal law, and that they have a trial coming up. I'd like to know date and time so that I can come to the courthouse and observe the trial. Or you can go and go. There are also virtual appearances. There is every county in the state of Florida has virtual hearings, and that you can go on floridacourts.org and you can see what dockets are being shown virtually, and you can watch arraignments, you can watch trials, and gain some insight into how the court system operates.
Thank you. And then when is the best time to ask for a recommendation letter from teachers or for attorneys that students may work for?
Okay. You need, it is very important, especially now that the law schools have only one entering class. It is important to set out a timeline as to when you want to go to law school or when you will graduate and be eligible to go to law school, and then backtrack from that date. So already students are applying for August of 26, and they have already taken the LSAT and also have gotten their letters of recommendation. So typically, the spring semester before the year before. So if you wanted to apply for law school for August of 26, you needed to have started last spring. spring of 25. So you need to start the spring before the year that you want to go to law school. Now, law schools do accept later acceptances. If you don't take your LSAT till November, can you still apply for August of 26? Yes. What you're facing is the lack of scholarship money. So it behooves you, it is important if you are dependent on scholarship funding to go to law school, then you need to be an early bird. You need to get everything in order, your LSAT, your letters of recommendation, your application, get everything in as early as you can because the law schools have a finite pot of money. And once those scholarships have been accepted, then you can have a stellar application, but they don't have any money to award you. And I have had students in that situation. I had one that wanted to improve his LSAT score. He got his application in, but then he waited till February. He did the February LSAT and he did improve his score. But when he talked to the admissions officer and showed them that he had improved his score, they said, you know, that's wonderful, but we don't have any money. We've given out all of our scholarships. And, you know, you may apply for a scholarship in year 2, but for year 1, you're on your own. So, you know, if you are, have independent source and don't need scholarship money, then there really is not these finite deadlines for applying for law school. But if you want and need scholarship money, then you need to be early spring, June, September 1 at the latest for the following year.
Thank you. And then in what part of students' college's career should they start to look into internships?
Well, for our department, you need to have those core courses. We are not going to place someone in an internship if they do not have a working vocabulary of legal terms. And you need to have a minimum skill set for a internship through the Department of Legal Studies. For other career opportunities, you really don't need that finite set of skills. So, you know, it depends on your industry as to when you should. There is no set time frame for you to intern somewhere unless you are looking to have it as part of your academic credit. And if you're looking to have it as part of your academic credit, counting towards your degree, then you need to meet the requirements of whatever your major is.
Thank you. And then going off of that, if a student plans on taking a gap year before applying to law school, would an internship during that gap year be a good reflection to the admission councils?
Yes. Yes, it shows that, you know, you're still very interested in pursuing the something in the legal field, and again, it goes to that demonstration of commitment to the profession, and that's important to them. As I said, they only have so many seats to sell, and that's the business side of law school.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions, but students, in the last couple of minutes, if you have any questions, please let us know. In the meantime, please fill out our post-event survey if you can get a chance. And if you have any questions, feel free to email aap@ucf.edu. Professor Millen, is there an email they can reach out to if they have any questions about internships?
Yes, if for legal studies students, majors and minors, it is Abby, ABBY, dot or period MILON at ucf.edu.
Thank you so much, Professor. And I put her email.
EDU at the end.
Oh, it looks like, okay, I'll edit that. I put her email into the chat in case anybody is part of the legal studies major or minor and has any further questions. But thank you so much. We really appreciate this, and we really appreciate you coming out.
All right, thank you so much.